How y'all doing? Ralph here. I'm an Air Force veteran, 6 years active duty, 14 years reserves. I know some of you are thinking about going into the Guard or Reserves after getting out of active duty. Questions you want to ask is, can I visit the unit? The reason why you want to do that is you want to have a feel for the environment you're about to get into. You want to have a feel for the kind of people you're going to work with. Another thing you want to ask is, how high does that job go for rank? Because if you're going in there and wanting to rank up, you might get in a bind because the Guard Reserve works by slots, and say they only have 2 slots for E6 and you're coming in as an E5. So you fill the E5 slot and there's 2 E6s ahead of you, so there's no slots for you to promote. It's just how it is. You have to wait for that either person to either move on or retire so that slot opens up. I'm pretty sure a lot of you active duty folks seen some pretty old E4s, E5s, even E6s, and you think they should be at a E7, E8 rank. The slots aren't there for that unit, but they're there because maybe they like the unit or they just want to stay there, they're comfortable. If you do want to rank up and there's no opportunities for you in that unit you're in, then don't be afraid to look at other units that have those opportunities. But if you're comfortable where you're at, you like the people there, and you're willing to wait to get to that next rank, then that's fine too. Ask the recruiter if there are bonuses. Some career fields there are bonuses. Sometimes they're as much as active duty side, sometimes they're not. But there are bonuses out there for Guard and Reserve career fields. The good thing about joining the Guard or Reserve is you can continue your base and exchange privileges. You can continue your SGLI. There is a tuition assistance if you don't want to use your GI Bill yet. But make sure you look into that, because I've seen where on the reserve side the tuition assistance is available for any accredited school, and on the Guard side it was only for any state school. So that might make your decision whether you're gonna go into the Guard or Reserves. Another thing is it's close to home. You don't have to PCS no more. There are exceptions to that, which I'll get into later. You can keep your security clearance, which is a great asset on the civilian workforce, because once they see that, they don't have to spend money on you getting your clearance because you already have it. And because you're in the Guard or Reserves, it's the same standard. And then you can complete your 20 years of service. It's not as good as the active duty, but at least it's a guaranteed pension. You get it at 60 instead of immediately once you hit your 20. Some stigmas, as you already know, might be you get called a weekend warrior, or you don't know as much as active duty does because you're not there full time. You can always counter showing that you know how to do the job, keeping your professionalism. Our unit, we've always get in where we fit in. We've always augmented the active duty, and it was pretty cool because our unit was pretty sharp, a bunch of sharp guys, and a lot of them didn't think we were reservists. They thought we were from an active duty unit. So again, it's how you carry yourself, how you represent your unit, and showing that you do have knowledge of the work that you're doing with the active duty, even though you're just doing it 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Income is not going to be livable. Deployments may cause hardship because, say you're an E5, say you make 100,000 on the outside, you got lucky, you got $100,000 job, and then all of a sudden you got to deploy for 4 months, 6 months, a year. That pay is not going to compensate for what you make on the civilian side. There are companies that will compensate for your missing money, but a lot of those are defense contractors or federal service. There are a few private sector companies that will do it. If you choose a unit that's 50 plus miles away, then you're authorized lodging for that weekend when you do have duty. Also, you're authorized lodging when you have active duty orders for your unit at that whatever station you're gonna be at. And one thing to think about is you're spending time away from your family. Usually average about 12 weekends a year spending away from your family. Just that alone. That's on top of your 2 weeks, on top of TDYs, TADs, or deployments. But it's not really that strict if you want to go to your kid's game, say it's a championship game, it's important, or you have an anniversary. You can make those weekends up, but you have to tell them ahead of time, and hopefully you have a good supervision where they understand your personal events that you want to make sure you don't miss. For the most part, they'll accept it. For the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, that's just standard. You're gonna find that you're gonna do a lot more than that. I've averaged about 3 months a year just being a reservist. Luckily, most of my civilian jobs that I've worked for were pretty reasonable and accepted that these unexpected orders would come from time to time, or I'd be gone for a certain amount of time. But for the most part, they were pretty supportive of my military duties when I had to go. One thing you'll be doing is working for free. Between weekends, sometimes you gotta write an evaluation report on your troops, or you have to write an award, some kind of medal, and it's due by a certain date. I mean, they can give you points for that, but more often than not, you're just gonna be doing work for free. Also, the physical fitness part, which is still gonna be the same standard as you were on active duty. It's just this time, while you're training, you're not getting paid for it. If you're working 12 hours a day and you get pretty tired, especially if it's a hard labor type job that you have, and then you gotta go work out, you gotta keep your body still in a military condition. And again, you're not getting paid for this. You have to do it on your own time. The culture is gonna be a shock for some of you. It's gonna be a lot of first name basis, no matter what rank. I've seen enlisted call officers by first names, vice versa. I know that happens on active duty, vice versa, but you will never see on active duty an enlisted person call an officer by first name. You'll also see an E3 call an E8 by first name, which is weird if you're coming straight off of active duty. But then again, their leadership is letting them do that. So if you go in there, you keep your professionalism, they'll see how you act, how you behave, and most of the time they'll come back and call you by rank and last name. That's of course if you want to be addressed that way. What you really want to do when you are thinking about going into the Guard or Reserve is, if you have a family, discuss it with them. As we all know, Guard and Reserve, they all deploy. Everyone deploys, no matter what branch you're in, no matter if you're active duty, Guard, Reserves. Everyone deploys. Make sure it's the right decision for all of you, because once you go into Guard and Reserves, you have 3 things to worry about: your family, your civilian life or civilian work life, and then your military life. Compared to if you were just active duty, it was just your family and then active duty. Ask yourself, is it worth it? I've had a friend that had kids, and he found a job that he traveled a lot with on the civilian side, and then he also was a reservist, and he was always gone. And when his kids were teenagers, every time he'd go away for a week, 2 weeks, the kids were just like, bye. There was no emotion, I guess, because they were so used to their dad being gone so much that it was just part of their life. And when you think about it, being a father, it does hit you hard, because now you question, like, am I doing the right thing? Do my kids think I'm ignoring them? My daughter, she's my princess, and I had to do orders 2 hours away for 4 months, and she just begged me to stay home. I could come home on the weekends, and she just begged me to stay home, like saying, I don't like you being gone for a long time. So it'll hit you. It'll hit you hard. It's a good decision, and it can become a hard decision after. Hopefully this helps you out on your decision making about going into the Guard Reserves after active duty, with some of the experiences I've had and some of the things I've seen with my buddies that were in the reserves or Guard also. With that, thanks for watching. Stay safe. God bless.